Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Meta Mondays on Epic Flail. Today we're talking about one of my favourite things to discuss in the world of Warhammer 40,000 because it causes so much tension in the community, but we're going to do it in a very kind, constructive and positive way. Today we're talking about the balance of Warhammer 40,000. We have asked the wonderful ChatGPT to give us the requirements of what a balanced game should look like. What are the things that a balanced game contains? And we're going to compare some of those things and ask the question, how good is the Warhammer 40,000 rules when we consider this as I guess a defining set of principles to follow to create balance? So we're going to be doing that. We're going to do 45 minutes and we're going to jump over to a members only show for all the members of the channel, where we're going to be talking about a very exciting announcement that Luke and I are making. We're launching a team. Finally launching a team. I know a lot of you have been asking, when are we going to do a team? When do a team? We're doing a team and we're doing a members only show. I'm going to tell you exactly what it entails, how to get involved, and all sorts of other fun stuff. Thanks for watching us. I don't feel like we have the right amount of subscribers for the type of content we're putting out. So do us a favour, and if you're watching the video, please subscribe. If you enjoyed today's video, please like. And if you want to become a member and come join our Discord community and get involved in the show and everything we do, then see the description below. Hello, Luke.
Hello.
How are you doing, my friend? This long intro today, isn't it?
I loved it. Just moving along to it.
I need to open the chat. How are we doing, chat? How's everybody tickling over today? Are we all keeping well? Who've we got? Look at some of these characters. We've got Adam in the chat. Not seen you for a while, my friend. Heard you've moved close, eh? He's moved into our neighbourhood, you see, Luke. He's made the journey over.
Made the journey.
To sunny Worthing.
Finally installed. Are you well?
Difficult year.
Yeah.
I've had a difficult year. My mental health's been average to poor to terrible. And I've had a really good weekend and I feel really good.
You've had a lot of idiots to contend with.
I've met
co-hosts of this podcast not included.
I've met so many idiots this year. It's unbelievable. Some new faces in the chat. All these people in the chat. You don't count, obviously. None of you count. No, I've met some great people this year. It's been a good, positive year. I'm going to talk about my weekend in the members chat. How are you, my friend? Are you all right? You keeping well?
Yeah, I'm good. Suffering a minor head injury, which I'll get to in the after dark. But
you've got a minor head injury.
Minor head injury, more like a nose injury.
I'm trying to identify it.
Yeah.
Can I see it?
There's a bit of light bruising, and yeah, I'll save it for the after dark.
Can I just guess what it was now, and then?
If you want, yeah.
A child headbutted you.
That's actually not too far from the truth. It was a child-related sort of
child-related injury.
Yeah. Which sounds really bad when I say it out loud like that, but no.
Yeah, that's definitely one for the after. Ali, good to see you, my friend. Welcome. We're just normal idiots, says Ali.
Damn right.
We're just normal idiots.
We're just normal men.
These T-shirts are about to be available in a shop. The shop is actually live, and I will put it on the Discord, but it is currently in the process of getting integrated into YouTube. So any day now, a whole range of merchandise is going to appear on the channel, which is exciting, full of exciting Epic Flail type things.
Love it.
Sorry, that was an announcement that I missed. Let's get straight into it, my friend. Let's get straight into the subject of today. So I was chatting to ChatGPT earlier, which a lot of people scoff at, but actually ChatGPT, as me and you talk about frequently, Luke, is getting pretty good.
It knows things.
It knows stuff. It's getting pretty useful. So I basically said to ChatGPT, I was chatting away, a little conversation with it. I said a couple of questions. First of all, what's the best faction to play if you were only judging it based on fun? And it immediately said Space Marines.
I was about to say, I bet it said Space Marines.
I know that's an ongoing debate on the channel. So Space Marines were number one. And also it said, I'm reading it now, specifically normal Space Marines. Okay, vanilla Space Marines. And then I said, what's the least fun faction to play?
Don't say it said Orcs.
It said Orcs.
No.
Yeah. And I said, really? ? And it said, yeah. So the second thing I asked it was to tell me about what makes a balanced game. So I said, if you were designing a competitive war game, what are the things that you would consider from a rules perspective when trying to create balance? What Luke and I are going to do with you, my friends in the chat, is I'm going to go through each of these things and we're going to ask ourselves.
Chat G3PO, yeah.
Chat G3PO. And Elliot said, I've had a nose injury from an excited child. Not fun, probably a minor fracture. There you go. I think he's extending I think that's sympathy. We've all... No, I'm not going to go there. Right. Number 1. The trademarks of a competitive balanced game. Luke, with your strategy-focused mind, you're going to tell me how good Warhammer 40,000 does. Number 1. A competitive and balanced game should exhibit the following characteristics. Number 1, diverse, viable strategies. I like this one. Multiple strategies should be viable, allowing different play styles to succeed. No single strategy or faction should overwhelmingly dominate the game.
Yep. It's got the V word.
It's got the V word.
That's
Viable.
a good part. I think that's really good for a machine. Yeah, I like that.
Well done, machine.
Well done, machine. Tick so far.
I'm going to flick through them all, and then I want you to go into the detail of each one. So I'll run through them quickly, and then we'll go back to the top.
That's a big one, though, I think.
I like that one. I was thinking a lot about diverse, viable strategies. Number 2, fair and balanced mechanics. The rules and mechanics should apply equally to all players, ensuring fairness. Mechanics that heavily favour one side or one type of faction can lead to an imbalance.
Yep.
I'm going to talk about fake dice. Number 3, clear and meaningful choices. Players should be able to make decisions that have a meaningful impact on the outcome. These choices should not be overshadowed by randomness. We're going to talk about something there. Number 4, randomness with mitigation. Random elements can add excitement and unpredictability, but should be balanced with ways to mitigate or influence outcomes. Number 6.
Right, say that again. My brain didn't.
Sorry, mate. It's my default state. Randomness with mitigation. Random elements can add excitement and unpredictability, but should be balanced with ways to mitigate or influence outcomes,
Okay,
i.e.
yeah.
CP reroll.
Yep.
Balance risk versus reward. Actions with a high risk should offer corresponding rewards. Overtly rewarding low-risk actions or punishing high-risk actions can lead to unbalanced play. Gambit. I'm thinking about gambits there. Or what the secret missions. The last one, stable and regular updates. Regular updates and errata from game designers can help address imbalances as they identified. That's what we're going to go through initially, my friends. And in the chat, let us know.
Sort the volume out, apparently.
Why? What's wrong with my voice? Who said that, though?
3 different people.
What, that I'm quiet? Yeah, but do appreciate that sometimes people are trolling me quite aggressively on here.
Fair enough.
Is that better? And if... Every time. As long as it's not suggested by Brandon. Nor feel it... Oh, okay, I do actually trust Hal and Jimmy Jefferson. But also turn me up. So, turn it up, Jimmy. I'm sure I'm fine.
Yeah, it's all good. Crack on.
Right, listen. Let's start with the first one. Just developed a stutter there overnight. Diverse, viable strategies. Multiple strategies should be viable, allowing different playstyles to succeed. Luke, how are we ranking Warhammer 40,000 on helping us as players achieve diverse, viable strategies? On a scale of 1 to 305.
I'd say it's a solid 217.
I was thinking around the early 200s.
Yeah. I think you naturally tick that off with the different factions. You've got a variety of different factions doing different stuff. And I guess it really depends on your definition of viable. At the tippy top, probably a little bit less wiggle room there, but that's naturally going to happen with every game that you play. Whereas picking up a game down the club or local gaming store, I'd say basically any faction's viable and any strategy is viable because you're just playing a game. You know, you set the parameters, match play, have a laugh.
Just increase my size there. Someone said I'm small, so I'm just addressing that.
So, yeah.
With this, I kind of think about the conversation that we had a lot at the beginning of the edition, which was around melee armies versus shooting armies. And when it first came out, like 10 off the bat, shooting armies like Knights and Eldar were so bad to play against because there wasn't a viable strategy because of the Overwatch stratagem and because of towering and because of fake dice and because of a lot of mission layouts and dev wounds. The viable strategies was completely lacking. It was like you either shoot the hell out of the opponent off the bat or you struggle. So Tyranids, World Eaters, factions that get into the middle of the board and mix it up. Orcs.
Yeah.
Weren't very good.
No.
I haven't even got full chat on, so I've only got top chat on, so I'm not seeing everybody troll me, just half the people troll me, which actually is a blessing.
Yeah, might be worse with
There's people
everybody.
find some shots, it's fine. Am I big enough now for everybody? If people want me to be larger, I can keep
make it
cranking.
happen.
I can keep cranking up. Ali wants me larger. There we go. I'll keep going, mate, if you want. So I think the diverse viable strategies at the beginning of this edition was really bad. I feel like in the balanced data slates and in Pariah and the terrain setups, there have been some changes to that. And now we're seeing armies that aren't just all about shooting. So World Eaters, strong faction.
Well, this links to the last point, or one of the last points on the list. And I obviously don't want to encourage chopping and changing from the order of things, but I think the stable updates is a big part of the equation. So that is a plus point. As much as people will get on their soapboxes and moan, oh, my faction's now been nerfed, or my faction's now... And it is a lot to keep up with if you're not overly fussed about competitive play, you just play once a month or whatever with your mates, and then you open up the app to find there's rules that you don't know about or changes. That's a problem in some places, but it does help, I feel, the overall game.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's definitely a mitigating factor, and I think if we think back over GW over the years, like I'm going to go in on GW a little bit and 40k during this chat, so I do think there are some things that are just stupid. But in their defence, they have made changes to the game so that viable strategies, is more diversity in the viable strategies. Again, chat, if you agree with us, let us know. But it feels like there is more of a diversity now than there was previously. There's definitely more factions, more ways of playing the game with Pariah than there were previously. And they do regularly release rules, updates, and changes to help address that balance.
Yes.
I'm critical of how often they have to do that. I don't mean that, because it goes the other way, right? Like, that's a good thing. That's great. But if you're doing that too much, it suggests your game's not very balanced. If you're having to constantly change the rules and alter and tinker, it suggests your game's not balanced. And I'm not talking about like, you play like League of Legends or whatever, and it's like little, we'll tinker that bit and we'll change that bit and we've addressed that ability and we've changed that ability. We're talking about like quite big changes in Warhammer 40,000. There's some quite big stuff. A lot of that is now completely different to how it worked before. CS Shaw 99 says GW hate hordes. So I have a good friend of mine that's playing up north. That's playing. Shout out to Mike if you watch. I know you don't watch this live, but I know you watch it after. Who is playing the Tyrannid list, the Endless Swarm Tyrannid list, and his fun is. He's still doing well, but his kind of like power in the list is depreciated. At the beginning of the edition, he was like, "They're just everywhere," and they come back. Whereas now he's like, "Oh, don't do great." Although having said GW hate hordes, 110 Marine list was in the French team at the weekend, WTC. Black Templar list with 100. It was Howling Jimmy Jefferson that was telling me about this.
I saw a lot of Marines.
Howling, it's not a microphone, it's a COCK. It's allowed in it. Howling Jimmy Jefferson. He's got that phrase from when me and we used to play paintball in You Cheeky Devil. You cheeky devil, sir. I nearly read that out in full. Ham says everyone hates hordes except horde players. Diverse viable strategies then. Are we saying 40k does provide some diverse viable strategies? You don't have to just have one play style. You can mix it up. I feel like of all the points, this is the one where you can say
they're all definitely
fair
viable.
enough.
It's just you have to take, if you accept that in any game there will be strategies that aren't going to get you the top spot. Generally speaking, this isn't a problem with just GW games. Like any game, there's be some strategies that are more winning-y than others across all games because there'll be a de facto best thing and a top meta for whatever reason. Once you step away from that, it doesn't make any other strategy any less viable. And sometimes by having a set meta, that can make an off-meta thing then become viable as well.
Yeah.
So I think from that aspect, there are lots of viable strategies, and it just depends on in the game as a whole. And if you're someone who goes, all right, I'm going to take an army to a tournament, and I want to win this tournament. It's like the LGT's coming up. I want to win this tournament. Obviously, there are some factions like Tom was jokingly saying about GSC not doing particularly well. I am genuinely on the fence about whether taking GSC because they're so bad at the moment. But that's just one faction. And there are other strategies, because it depends if you're defining strategy as faction as strategy. There's different ways of playing. Might not be your specific army is particularly good at the moment, but there's different things you can do, different ways of playing. And maybe I just have to tailor more to things with that faction. So yeah. I think they're doing a good job generally speaking in terms of the fight, just picking that key thing, the multiple viable strategies.
Yeah, I agree 100%. The other thing I've got in my notes, which I was just glancing at, is the missions also provide that as well. So this is kind of a double-edged sword for me. One of my criticisms of 40k in its current edition is, and this might be a personal thing, is that there's just like every single turn more missions and more things. It's just like, oh my God, it just never ends. Like a new thing. And I think sometimes my brain just wants to settle on a scenario. I said this to Rob the other day and he was kind of like, well, he almost made me out to be the simple man, not the normal man. And I was like, no, I'm not saying it because I don't like complex challenges. It's just constantly in flux. The state of the game is just constant flux. However, the fact that those secondaries do change every turn does mean that sometimes it's about killing your opponent. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's about demonstrating flexibility and having utility pieces that can go around the board. Sometimes it is about movement and speed and being able to get around the board.
Yep.
Sometimes it's about defending and protecting something. Sometimes it's about denying an opponent. Sometimes it's about spreading out. So you have all those different elements of the secondary game, which creates viable strategy. If it was Old World, you could look at Old World here and go, I mean, Old World, you have to kill as many of the opponents as possible. There are different strategies to do that.
Yeah. But the game is essentially the same. Even the missions.
Just kill people.
Yeah.
Just kill people, kill people.
And that's even whether you hate or love the missions, they serve a purpose, and that is to basically make it so that you don't just turn up and have a shooting gallery every time. Because then if you don't have those missions, then the game warps around, okay, I'm just going to shoot you and not interact with you because I don't need to win.
Yeah,
I just need to blow stuff up, which is, especially in the turn-based game, where one person's going to go first, all of a sudden it makes going first really, really annoying.
Yeah, makes it grim.
Really annoying.
I'm just going to read out some. I've seen TTB write something, which I'm assuming is him trolling me, but I'm going to go. Paul is skewing your guys' diversity numbers, though, by picking up a new faction after every game he loses. Right. That's true. Nothing else to say about that other than, yes, I do pick up a new faction every other week, but I'm sticking with Grey Knights and remain maybe down to the third best Grey Knight player in the world now. It's yet to be proven. Joe says, fixed versus tactical is ridiculous. Should be one or the other, as you can build an army that can do two things, i.e. demons, take engage on all fronts and deploy locust, drop within 3 for a CP that you can't stop. Miss Hatch, good to see you, my friend. Game flux and rules churn burn me out 40k. And I think there's a lot of people... Oh, Adam's just put no one tell him. Right, that means he's been memeing me. Oh my God, I cannot share that. We will look at that in the After Dark. Thank you, Ad. No, we cannot go in there right now. That is quite the picture that's just been shared on the Discord by Adam. Anybody who doesn't know, Adam is a Photoshop meme troller. So every now and again we'll go, don't tell him, and produce a picture on Discord. So I think they've done a good job on this first one, Luke. I'm sure it can only be uphill from here. Second, fair and balanced mechanics. The rules and mechanics should apply equally to all players, ensuring fairness. Mechanics that heavily favour one side or one type of action can lead to imbalance. What do we think about fair and balanced mechanics?
Yeah, it's important. You don't want something like a core stratagem to be really good for some factions, but worthless for others. And where they fail, one of the examples of that is tank shock. So it doesn't do anything in Tyranid Army.
I think it is criminal that monsters can't tank shot. I just think that is just so...
That's a swing.
It's such an insane oversight. Like they're similarly pointed. They clearly provide the same sort of utility on the battlefield. Mm. Why do they not have tank shock? Like anyway,
yeah, there's no reason why it can't just headbutt something.
Overwatch is another mechanic that doesn't feel fair or balanced. For some armies,
there's nothing in World Eaters. Yeah,
it's just completely pointless. It just punishes you. And there are some factions where Overwatch is an incredible ability. like insane ability,
Mm.
and others where like
Great example
they
is
just go-
Eldari. So they got the fancy magic guns, basically like a anti-tank gun, Star Lance something. I don't know. Someone will tell me the name for it.
the fancy magic gun,
Fancy magic Eldar gun. Yeah.
fancy stick.
It's basically like one shot, but it's like really anti-tank, high strength, high damage. And I was having a really friendly game at last LGT, and we were just chilling out. It was like day 2, did very, very badly, and just having a good friendly game. And I just casually just sort of wandered out, forgetting about the fact he had fate dice, 6 on fate dice, and moved out a character, thinking, I'll gamble the Overwatch, it's fine. And he was like, I'm just wondering about Overwatch. And then as he said that, I was like, oh my God, it's not a gamble, because he's got the fate
He's gonna
dice. He's
cheat.
going to go 6 on the damage as well. I was just like, oh. Like,
Dead.
yeah. So I was just like, cool. So just
The-
killed the character, like for nothing. And that's like, that turned is it a gamble? It's just like so.
You should have got. I'm just thinking about changing my mind.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about Overwatch. I'm just thinking about taking that model away from your Overwatch.
Yeah. As I say, it was a super chill
Thinking about
game. So
moving that.
it was no big deal, but it's just that's a really weird sequence of events that I just don't think that sort of thing was thought about, with certain
Just kick the
mechanics
camera,
and
sorry.
things working together, that you can kind of create these situations where it's like you get these really swingy effects through things like Overwatch versus World Eaters, where like something like that will just never come up.
I think it's
Like,
the
you're
worst
never going to
mechanic.
Overwatch.
I hate Overwatch.
anyway.
Overwatch
It's
is
just awful.
the worst combination of mechanics that exist in this game. A fate. I don't know if you can. You obviously can't do it like you could at the beginning of the edition. But fate dice are bad because there is no fairness in not having to roll the dice. Oh, it's just a bad mechanic. No one likes it.
No, it's
no one.
stupid.
It's bad in Sisters. It's bad in Eldar. It's bad all over the game. And Overwatch is a mechanic. I also. I get what they're doing. Like, though, you need a 6 to hit. There's a swinginess of it, but it's the fact that so much stuff can manipulate that, or has an overwhelmingly strong ability if they do get a 6, or has an overwhelmingly high amount of
Or
shots.
just flamers, like.
I mean, that just cheats Overwatch as well,
It
doesn't it?
just makes it so okay. Eye roll leave, just like great, fine.
Yeah. Although I play Grey Knights now, so I actually really like Overwatch. I think
Yeah,
it's
but
really.
you do.
I think Overwatch is one of the most balanced abilities. So I'm saying monsters usually good in combat, whereas tanks suck in melee decision. That's true, but you still feel like they're just missing out on that extra, like, I'm going to charge at you, leap on you, and then beat you up. There's not many. I guess Angron is an insane monster. I don't know whether Angron wants tank shock. And I know that in the Tyrannid Crusher Stampede list, they do have a strat, don't they, that gives them kind of tank shock, but it's not quite as good. I think it should be. I think it should be a Crusher Stampede
It's more the fact
detachment ability to just get
bringing
tank
it-
shock.
bringing it back round to this point, right? That rules that benefit other factions more than others. So if you have Tyranids and then you have a faction with access to vehicles, then with the faction with access to vehicles, you have a way of charging and doing damage before
Just watch you on with that camera. Sorry.
charging and doing damage before you start swinging, and that's a really useful and powerful thing to be able to do, just to inject mortal wounds into a combat before you even start fighting, something like a tank.
Yeah.
Whereas Tyranids simply don't have that option. So it's just you start the game with one less stratagem, effectively, to use than your opponent does. So that straight away is like, well, that's not fair. That's not balanced. So I think there's a lot of little examples like that where things just don't stack up equally. So I think they need to do some work on this area.
They were too stressed about Tyranids last edition, weren't they? 9th for the
Yeah.
Crusher Stampede was like super ridiculous, wasn't it? And I think they were like, well, don't make them too strong. And then they kind of tickled them out. Howling Jimmy Jefferson. I'm a long time orc player, and melee just feels like lust of this edition. Shooty/versatility armies seem so much more satisfactory to play. I know you can play orcs as pressure and denial, but that gets boring in my opinion, just playing missions and not really your opponent's army. And Ryan says, also grenade strat, some armies have no grenade keywords. That's true. I feel Howling's point there. I've playing Grey Knights has really emphasised with me what 40k has become. Maybe this is a reflection for at the end that we can like revisit. But who said this to me? I think it was Tim. Tim Anderson said it to me. he said Warhammer 40,000 has turned into kind of a board game. It's changed. If we think back to like, I think what was the first edition I played, second edition, third edition, you shot each other, like you blew each other up. And I'm not saying this is the best. Maybe this is quite that would be very unbalanced edition, but it's now become this game where like you're actually just picking things up and placing them in place. Think about that game me and you had the other night last week.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. Yeah,
that game was basically let's build shapes that screen out 9 inches and 3 inches. Because I was playing Grey Knights, you were playing Demons. That wasn't Warhammer 40,000. That wasn't like let's slug it out and attack each other and blow things up. It was kind of like let's place our models very specifically to stop each other deep striking and scoring secondaries. And let's be very careful about what we're putting in the back and the corner of the board rather than let's absolutely slug it out in the middle. And there was some stuff slugging out in the middle, but it was very limited. It was most of our resources were deployed on the corner of the board.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a board game because it's like you've got all these different mechanics, like the secondary missions, the primary missions, the CP. You know, it's you're managing your CPs, you're managing your secondaries, you're managing your primaries, your deep strike. It's a little bit like a board game.
Yeah.
So they don't do as well, I don't think, on fair and balanced mechanics. Some mechanics are just way stronger than others, and it doesn't feel very balanced. There are also some detachment mechanics and rules that are just absolutely crap, and you just don't really see compared to others. Like they're just garbage. Next one is clear and meaningful choices. Players should be able to make decisions that have meaningful impact on the outcome. These choices should not be overshadowed by randomness. And that second sentence is the key one for me. You should be able to make clear and meaningful choices that are definitive. This will happen. Me doing this will have an influence on the game, and it's not just a random thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I think they do a good job in some respects with the missions, which mean you then got to plan out where you move and go to. But then by the same token, if you have to make a crucial charge, that could then swing a game drastically one way or the other. Because if you go, okay, I'm not going to make it to this place, I'm not going to kill the thing to get the points, and I'm not going to get primary the next turn or deny primary or something like that, then that's pretty big. So you might have made the right choice, but then been brick-walled by the fact that you failed a 5-inch charge. So it wasn't even that low of a chance that you don't make it in. You know, you went where you were supposed to go, you did the thing, you figured it out, but then...
I was trying to like verbalize this one when we were playing the other day, and I don't know how good a job I did with it, but I'll try again.
Must roll better.
Must roll better, yeah. But it's like the 50-50 dice rolls that then... that have large consequences feel bad. So like 50-50 dice rolls, 4 up in Vun. Mm-hmm. If that has a moderate to small effect on the game, you don't feel too bad. Do you know what I mean? If it's kind of like, it's just a small thing, it's just a point or whatever, or it's just an extra bit of damage, you don't feel too bad. But when the 50-50, or I just need an 8, or I just need a 9 on my deep strike charge roll, that... Let's say someone deep strikes in a unit, just absolute goes for it, 9 inches away from a really key model, or your back objective. You've got to hold a back objective. And it's late on in the game, so you can't just go, well, I'll just screen you out. They basically just go for it on a 9-inch charge. They've got no CP.
Yep.
And they get it. It's a bit lucky.
Mm.
But that roll then leads to 35 attacks.
Yep.
That one... I just need a 9 roll, has then led to so many dice rolls that feels super skewy. Whereas if it was like that 9-inch charge roll just led to a small number of dice rolls, you wouldn't feel so bad about it.
It can snowball.
Tom saying Paul hates 4++. I think it's the worst thing in the game. I hate 4 of Invons so much. I just think they're so bad. I hate it. The 50-50 thing. It's too much, and I'll try not. This is why I hate Invuns. Right, the reason I hate Invuns is they're the last stop before the big bit of damage, and it should be the other way around. It should be I hit you, I wound you, loads of damage. Now do your 4-ups, so at least something goes through. The fact that it's I hit you, I wound you. Now roll 1 dice, and you have a 50% chance to not take loads of wounds. That feels silly on big weapon. I think it should be the other way around, because if it's the other way around, I mean, if you're playing Liam Mackett, it don't matter anyway, because his dice are awful. Feel no pain, I don't have a problem with feel no pain, because feel no...
4-up feel no pain.
4-up feel no pain is 4-up feel no pain is stupidly strong, But at least it's at the end of the sequence of dice rolling. When you have one dice 50-50s early on in the dice roll, you just make it super spiky. So it's just that bit for me is just I see so many games where it's just bad out, you know. But also at the same time, you know, it's fun, it's exciting. Like it's the things we talk about.
Yeah.
Well, oh my God, I passed all this, and so I get that. I'm not like just beating up on the game unnecessarily. I get that the trade-off is if you want to make a really balanced game where everything, you know, the dice rolls have an influence, but they're never big influences.
Yep.
It drastically increases the balance and the competitiveness, but it also reduces the fun and the excitement.
Yep.
And we play the game because we like rolling dice, and we like rolling dice and seeing a number, and that induces a feeling.
Yep.
And that feeling is one of excitement if the dice roll has consequence. So I hate the 4-pin fun because I want a balanced game, but what a lot of people will like about the 4-pin fun is it reduces it feels good. It's a dopamine hit, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
If you're like, mate, look, if you fail this 4-up, that you know, that Angron's dead.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't care if it's Angron. That's a bad example because most people want him dead because they bring him back. Whatever. Bellacor's going to die.
Yeah, yeah.
You're like, oh man, I passed it. Yeah, that's exciting. But also from a balance perspective, it's pretty stupid.
That's very true.
So that was fair. That was clear and meaningful choices. I guess you could kind of put the randomness of an advance into that. I just need to get on this objective, and if I get on it, then I deny you primary. Oh, I hope I roll a 5.
Yep.
I hope I roll a 3.
Yeah, I mean, dice games in general, though, isn't it? I mean, there's going to be times where you don't roll the numbers you want, and times where you roll the numbers you do want, and it's all good. But I think one of the things that we were talking about this before was it's when it snowballs, like not rolling well and a unit getting killed. It's like whatever, you know, fine. You're gonna have good times and bad times, but yes, there's pivotal moments, which is that's where it can lead to frustration. But I think you've touched on a really good point about it also being a really hard one to work through because people love that as well. So there's going to be equal amounts of frustration and enjoyment for different types of players and different experiences.
Or if you're just Liam McAdoo, you just cheese dice rolls all the time.
Yeah. And that's just it. And those 4-ups as well, because we were playing with the Great Unclean one, which has got a 4+ invuln and a 4+
Talk about him.
Feel No Pain.
What a joker he is, by the way.
Giant pudding. And
the big pud.
The big pud. But that's the strategy with him is just to exist, and you are hoping that people will just throw stuff at that wall and none of it will stick, and you just sort of stand there. I mean, he was left alive with 1 wound. And it's like,
yeah, he got shot by like so many side cannons. Then he got charged by Drago with a full unit of Terminators with the 2 CP dev strat.
Yeah, he loved it.
So I was hitting on 3s with the Terminators, 6s lethals, and then 6s a dev. Drago was hitting on 2s, devs on 2s.
Yep. He was just giggling away. Oh, stop it.
And then he was had like 7 wounds or something.
Yeah.
And then I failed a roll twice. Anyway,
yeah.
It's good fun.
And then I passed Battle Shock and healed him. It was great.
Yeah. Just readjusted my shorts. It's hot in here again, boys.
Sweatbox.
Ryan says, this weekend I hit 2 9-inch charges with my Grey Knights. That totally changed the game. That is the thing. It doesn't half upset me when someone drops a unit down and goes, well, I'm just going to go for it. Hopefully I get a 9. I'm like, oh,
yep.
God, I wish that wasn't a mechanic. Anyway.
It's interesting. I do find myself in moments in games just thinking, don't make the charge.
Please don't get that. Yeah, please don't get that.
Just don't do that.
And I know what people are saying. I can literally hear Rob. I know Rob can't watch live tonight. He messaged me. He's going to watch later. But Rob, your voice is in my head right now. And do you know what he's saying? All you got to do is screen. Just make sure you screen. Which is why those armies, like Sisters, that have a lot of units, are very good. Because you can screen.
Yeah, you just
go, I don't care.
Garbage up front.
Do you know what, mate? Drop a 9-inch deep strike down. You're just going to charge a unit on the battle line at the front. Whereas a lot of armies can't do that. So when someone goes, I'm just going to 9-inch deep strike your back objective, you're like, God, please don't be in. Please don't do it.
But also, like you said later in the game, sometimes stuff's died. There's not as much opportunity to screen. So then people will just appear 9 inches away. like reinforcements if you've got a unit like Kaskin coming back.
They just
Stuff like that.
downtown it.
Yeah.
Sister Ava, welcome, my friend. We've been a dice game. Warhammer can only be balanced to a certain point. Since there's no such big MG factor, there will never be true balance. I don't disagree with that, mate. Reminds me of the time where I had to save 10-2+ with Kane, and I rolled a 1 on all of them.
Ugh.
Never happened again. Oh my God.
Yeah, that wouldn't have felt good.
Cheeky. The next one is randomness with mitigation. Random elements can add excitement and unpredictability, but should be balanced with ways to mitigate or influence outcomes. Does Warhammer 10th edition have randomness with mitigation? I guess we can throw CP rerolls in here. We can throw Oath of Moment in here. Do you know what I mean? That kind of ability where it's like reroll everything, or at least reroll a bit. The Knights, I really like the Knights' ability to reroll a 1 to hit and a 1 to wound. It's not. No one complains about that. No one goes, "Oh my God, that Knight's ability is awful." They did at the beginning of the edition when people were rerolling all of them.
Yep.
But as it's now understood, being able to reroll a single dice to hit, I like that.
Yeah.
It just adds a bit more curvature. You know, you're still rolling dice and like things are missing, but it just adds a little bit more curvature.
Yeah, it does.
Which I think is good.
Played a game against Tom, and 5 Gene Stealers charged into a Venom, and I had to hit it with the Achilles Ridge Runner for extra AP, and then pop a little strat to give myself +1 to wound against vehicles, because that was the crappy detachment rule that I was playing. And all those little things then added up to a dead Venom. Whereas if I hadn't done that, then chances are I probably wouldn't have done anything.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's lots of things like that you can add in to reduce your variance.
And I like that. Hams make a good point. This is a rule that isn't evenly shared for all factions. Not everyone has access to rerolls like pain tokens, agree? But one thing I wish 40k had a little bit more of, just a tiny bit more across all the factions, which I've seen be incredibly successful in the game that shan't be named, is I really like it when your viable strategies to achieve whatever's going on the table are based upon a series of sequences which help you deliver the end result. So I really like things that are like, if you take this model, it can give this unit a buff that allows them to do this, which then lets another unit charge them and do it. So I like the kind of like layering of strategies that then mean that I'm definitely going to kill that unit, or that it's very likely I'm going to kill that unit.
Yeah.
And it's not just like because I've got loads of attacks and the unit's broken. It's because I've sequenced a bunch of things and I've built my list around it being able to do a particular thing, and I've executed it that way on the table. There are some factions where there isn't that level of layering, and it's just kind of like, oh, if you miss, you miss. Do you know what I mean? Like you're hitting on threes and misses are misses. There's, you know, you've got a CP reroll, but that's your lot. So I like the factions, and I like the rules that, like Oath of Moment, I think is brilliant. I think Oath of Moment is a great rule. So again, it's not completely, it's one single model / unit, and yeah, rerolling hits is powerful, but it's not feel bad because it's not wounds. If it was rerolling wounds, I know they've got some ways of getting reroll wounds as well. But if you were just looking at Oath of Moment purely as a rule, it's not a mega feel. It's a bit like the Knights one. It's not a mega feel bad. It's good. Yeah. It's not completely stupid. Robert says that's why I love the previous edition's force organization. Yeah, that kind of has. List building is very different in this edition.
You just do what you want, basically.
Yeah, they really abandoned the kind of like build a back.
Yeah,
it's just like just 3 of things.
It got. You didn't play with it, and they had. Yeah, they did some silly things. I remember.
What did they do? What's the worst thing they did?
They did this. They did this thing with, if you took a certain number of marine units, you got like another chunk of points added in for free.
That seems stupid.
Yeah, so people just take that. I just got loads of stuff.
Yeah,
basically, I'm playing a higher points game than you because I'm taking a bit of random stuff. Yeah, it was a weird time.
There's a cool mechanic that I've found in games where they theme you, so which is kind of what they're doing with the detachments. You know, like if you take these units, then you get this specific ability. I quite like that, but I don't know whether they've quite nailed that this edition. So randomness with mitigation, there's definitely some. I think you have to give it to them that the CP reroll allows that, and there are some mechanics in the game that do allow rerolls and allow you mitigate that a bit.
Yep.
Next one is balance risk versus reward. Actions with a high risk should offer corresponding rewards. This is where the deep strike chat is very interesting. overly rewarding low-risk actions or punishing high-risk actions can lead to unbalanced play. This is exactly where I would put the 9-inch Deep Strike. The 9-inch Deep Strike is a high-risk act. It's like, I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to whack them down. I'm just going to try and roll it. But you're not... Well, in fact, it's a high-reward action that doesn't necessarily have a high risk. Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm just going to whack this down here, and if I don't get in, it's fine, because you've got to deal with them, and they're in a great position. They're in your backfield, so like you're going to have to move things around. But if I charge them and get them in, that has a huge, huge consequence. So it's low risk, high reward. Mm. Do you think there's a lot of... Do you think they do a good job of balancing risk versus reward generally outside of that?
Yeah, I think as well, it comes down to the person you're playing against as well. You can make risky plays that your opponent might not actually capitalise on, so then it doesn't become a risky play. So you got that human element to it. Adds a bit of randomness. I think it's risk to do with randomness again. So it comes down to how well you find even just rolling a regular charge. Like if I'm going to go out here and I'm going to move into this no man's land to make a reasonable charge, that could be high risk, high reward, because if you fluff that charge, then your unit is out in the open, you're completely exposed, you're no longer hidden, and your army, that's just going to get picked up. But the upside is you charge in and then able to consolidate through into terrain and hide or do something else and engage and not be shot. So I don't know. I think again it struggles to do that well because you've got the randomness, which again is not necessarily a bad thing because there's going to be an equal amount of people that do enjoy the randomness. So I think it's just a part of the game that needs to be embraced. As soon as you start getting diced into it, and they talk about the game that should not be named, there's a lot. They kind of curtail the randomness down a little bit in the way the mechanics work, but then that comes with a cost because you're going to have a lot less oh my god kind of moments. So I guess it just depends on how you enjoy to play the game. Yeah,
it does. I guess we're coming at this from kind of like I purposely asked ChatGPT to think about like competitive games because I think we're all in agreement that like as just a fun game where stuff happens, 40k is great. Yeah. Like if you were just like, I just want to play a fun game, I throw models down, mad stuff happens, you're like, well, 40k is great. Like people could just deep strike and then charge you and like, yeah, definitely does that. But if we were to go, people are charging for courses, people are becoming professional. You know, it's like GW are specifically deploying resources and money and attention to the competitive side. But, you know, people are starting to take this really seriously. It's a good point to just be like, well, let's just check in and seriously evaluate the rules just so we can... Because the reason I like this conversation is it's important to align expectation with reality. And I think there's sometimes a bit of a mis-selling as to how balanced this game really is. And I think that mis-selling occurs because it's in people's interest. And I put GW in that... I think GW won't come out and be like, do you know what, actually this game is super random and it's not really built for competitive play. Yep. Like Jervis Johnson did many years ago. He literally wrote in The White Dwarf and said,
just have fun with it.
I don't know why you try to make this competitive. It's not competitive. Please stop doing that. You're wrecking the game.
Please stop.
He literally did that. He literally big thing. It's a famous thing, just saying, you know, this is stupid. And obviously it's a very different edition now and it's completely...
Okay, so with that in mind then, I think the charge mechanic as an example is massively wrong. And Tom said something similar to what I was thinking. Is he saying bring back the old 6? You could just charge 6 inches. I think a more elegant halfway point would be you have your movement value is you have a charge value or a value that you can move in the charge phase that's different from model to model or unit to unit, and it doesn't have to be wildly different. Obviously, the faster units can move a bit faster, so you pick an arbitrary number and scale it however you want, but then you can add a D6 to it, or even just a D3. Like you can add some amount to it. So then
instantly much better.
Like 100. So then you got the small, like the cases where you're very close to it. You still to another unit. Oh, I'm about an inch or so. You know, my charge move is 7 because I'm an Eldari model and a bit faster infantry model. I've got a charge move of 7. And you're 8 inches away. Okay, even if I just have 1 to the roll, I'm going to make it in because my charge roll is what it is. Whereas an Orcs might only have a charge roll of 5, and or it's a bit more of a gamble. They might not make it in, and that's cool. But for the really small distances, it kind of just cuts out a lot of the feel bad.
Or they're really long.
Yeah.
I think if you want to make a game more balanced and you want to make it a bit more competitive, then you want to narrow the big swings as much as you can.
Yeah.
So like
that would do work.
This model is either going to charge 2 inches or 12.
Yeah.
That is stupid. That's
wild.
way too big. That's way too big a window, and you can still have the fun element and the excitement and like, well, I've got a CP reroll. But the fact that it goes from 2 inches to 12 inches, which is a lot of the board, like 12 inches is quite a significant part of the 40k board. That feels super
it does
swingy.
make a lot of sense as well. Like even from a fluff perspective, whether competitive, otherwise, whatever, you look at it and think, why would they only go like 2 inches or a little bit and just go, oh no, we didn't. Why? What's the rationale for that?
Yeah, agree. I like again, this is just because of the sort of game, the way I want to play the game. Tom, shut up. What's he saying?
Fire and fade is a sensible and fun mechanic.
Right.
Said nobody ever.
That's a cardable offence from Ham Sandwich there.
Tripped on a
And
stick.
Ultramarine Marines has come and said, Paul complaining about charges out of Deep Strike equals he regrets he's taken GK for the league. Mate, it's not really... The Deep Strike, and I'm just going to go for it, never works for me. I've never made I'm just going to chuck that there, but then maybe I don't do loads of that because I don't like it. Evening, Steve-Owen. Good to see you, my friend. Thanks for joining us.
I find whenever I'm doing that, I'm losing. And this is, I need something to dig out of this hole. Yeah, like, I've lost the game anyway. Yeah. Let's go for it. Oh, it didn't happen. Cool.
I'm just going to try and roll a 9.
Yep. Never mind.
I really like charge mechanics just being set values, if I'm honest. I think that, it's another thing that hinders the melee armies over it just shooting. Yep. Shooting, I walk up, I know how far away you are because this game is, you can pre-measure everything. I'm definitely in, I'm going to shoot that. I can make X amount of attacks to kill that. Melee arm, it's like I'm going to move up, I'm going to hope I can roll 5 on 2 dice, and I haven't got a reroll, so I best roll a 5. That massively skews shooting armies over melee armies. Then throw into the fact that they've also got Overwatch, so you've gone up and declared your charge, and you're going to get Overwatched anyway, and you fail your charge. So there's like, that is...
a lot of layers of
that is stupid,
unfun.
That's just an easy fix, is to reevaluate the charge mechanic. But from GW's perspective, what's fun is rolling dice.
Yeah.
And when you create big swings, i.e. you could go 2 inches or you could go 12 inches, you increase the excitement. It's like the gamble, the adrenaline rush is higher, the wackier the roll, right? So like, I'm just going to go for it. I need a 10. Is way more exciting than, oh, I'm automatically in because I just charge an extra 5 inches.
Yeah.
Or roll a dice but although I hate the mechanics, the mechanic I really, so much. I really love 40k. I'm not like being negative. The one I'm not enjoying at the moment is the librarian.
Oh, right.
In Grey Knights.
Why?
Roll a 1, you take d6 mortals, you can kill yourself. So it goes from this like amazingly reliable output of damage, like 2d3 mortals is good. That's super solid. It goes from that to like 1 in 6 chances it's going to hurt itself, and then 1 in 6 chance it literally dies. No, in fact, 2 in 6 chances it dies. Takes 5 wounds, it's just dead.
Yeah, that's not
enjoying that.
Not ideal.
Not enjoying that. The last one is stable and regular updates. Regular updates and errata from the game designers can help address imbalances.
Imbalances.
Got
to check those imbalances
as they are identified.
So taking the fact that they write sloppy rules out the equation, and a lot of the balances are there to tidy up their own mistakes. Taking that as a separate thing, I think they do well. I actually think they're worth commending in as much as they are regularly updating the game in the interest of balance. They clearly don't always get it right, and they cause a lot of their own problems. But at least there are regular updates, which kind of which certainly help towards making it less crap for less amount of time. But back in the day, you'd have your codex. That would be it for multiple years. You're playing that codex, no update to your specific codex, and new codexes then come in, and then that's what you got, and you're stuck with it. Whereas, so I think they do a much better job, even just having a match play document as well, which they then also update. So I think they do a really good job of that.
Agree. I think they're doing a great job here. I think on the diverse, viable strategies and on stable and regular updates, GW doing better than they ever have done. There hasn't been a time, I think, where they've released as many competitive play-focused updates.
No.
If it wasn't for competitive play, I don't think they'd be doing anywhere near as much rules release as they are. They'd be like, oh, it's fine, just work it out in your play groups, house rules, whatever, just have your fun, buy more models. Whereas they are like actively looking at the meta and the data, although they don't always.
And for Garage Hammer, like you can literally just ignore all of that. That's just white noise. You can just, okay, I've got my book, you've got your book.
Do your thing.
We're just playing out the book.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
I wonder, like, what percentage of. I think most people do that, and they don't know the balance sheet. You know, most people just like
monkeys.
People, you know, fathers and sons or whatever, just randomly like, let's play 40k.
Yep.
So I think the first one and the last one, fair play. And the good thing, and I want to be positive, is that the sign that number one, the diverse viable strategies and the comments we made about the missions and the stable and regular updates, I think is a sign that in time the rules will move towards. I think eventually we'll get to a state by which there's Warhammer 40,000 rules and there's Warhammer 40,000 comp rules. And I think they'll have some like key differences that go, look, this is how the game should be played. You pick up this rule, but you go play, it's great. But because this is becoming a competitive game and there's teams and there's people going professional and there's these golden tickets and blah, 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 we've actually refined the rules. We've not simplified them, we've refined them to remove some of the this is what I do, remove some of the randomness and actually make a game in which it's a little bit more focused on the best player winning at the table rather than the luckiest. I think that they'll eventually get to that point, and they'll just appease both audiences because they're making so much money, they can literally do whatever they want. You know, especially with when it comes, Amazon comes on, they've opened another warehouse, they've got these resources. I don't see why they won't just go. Our player base is diversified. Let's please them all because they don't need to do this kind of like juggling act. I don't think.
No,
between the two. Chat, your input before we wrap up. I want to hear from the chat as well, and Luke will do the same. Just people's general thoughts on how balanced 40k is, like just general overall thoughts. How, if you zoom out and take all that into consideration, where would you put 40k if you were to give it a score from 1 to 10 on balance?
4.
You give it a 4.
Yeah, because I think fundamentally, the core. There's too much. There's too much swinginess. So that makes it a bit wild. I think you can have random elements that don't have as much variance and as much snowballing of things, and that is way more problematic than all of the other stuff that then follows that, which is then the imbalance in the haves and the have-nots in terms of rules, stratagems, and all of that stuff, and then the layer further from that. Just the massive amount of diversification is good, but then there are problems within as part of that. And again, more haves and have-nots, and it just kind of snowballs. And I think if you got to take a big step back, refine the rule set, and then that would hopefully, in this completely made up scenario that I've got,
so like that.
You'd then be able to start to curtail all the other stuff. And I don't say that as a moany for. Like, I enjoy it. I love the game. I enjoy the game. So I'm not. But I think
it's fine to be. You can enjoy something. Yeah. I mean, Steve just said in the chat, boring if it was too balanced. I think that's a really sound comment. That's a good reflection that the criticism. So if we were to go ChatGPT, imagine the most balanced, wargaming game you can imagine. What would the downsides be? It would be like. It get quite boring. Chess is fun. Chess is good, but once you've kind of seen a chess game and you know what chess is, and you've played chess, you're in for the same thing every time. There's no randomness. It's just kind of like one decision leads to another decision, that leads to another decision, another decision. Some people love that. It's an incredibly popular game, but you wouldn't describe chess as like exciting and fun. So it is. Yeah, I think, and the game that shall be named could be quite boring because it could end up. What eventually happened with some of the later editions is. Because everything was so defined, sometimes not much happened, and it was just like people standing off each other using measuring sticks. It was also precise. That you could be like, not much is going on here.
Yeah,
because you wouldn't be like, I'm just going to go for it. You'd be like, well, no, I'm not going to do that. It's definitely not going to work. Why would I go for it? Like a 2% chance of me killing him. I'm not going to go for it. That's stupid. So it gets quite boring. Whereas 40k is like offline. Yeah, I'd say like a 6, but the reason I say a 6 is. I think there are ways of playing the game that increases the balance if you're taking a meta list So like the games we've seen stream, some of the stream games we've done at UKTC, which we're at next week, by the way. I'm streaming Leeds. Please tune in. Saturday, Sunday this week. I'm going to be at Leeds. Then there are lists and players that remove as much randomness as they can.
Yep. So
that's why I like Grey Knight. Grey Knight's a good faction because it's not that random. You can 3-inch deep strike and it's a stratagem.
Yep.
And you pick your scoring secondaries all the time. So the randomness decreases because you're not like, oh my God, I must kill this thing. You're like, well, I'll just go my secondaries, deny your primary with a 3-inch deep strike. Like, although there are ways around that. But you get the picture. Like
yeah.
You can play a certain way in a mission-based placement way that I think takes out some of the randomness and gives you a bit more balance.
Yes.
But it's not available for all the factions, and it's not everyone's cup of tea. But if you want to do it, and you've got the money to roll with the meta and get the latest army and get the new thing, you know, people that have the disposable income and are really into it, I think feel the game's quite balanced because they're like, well, I've got this faction, it's really good, this is really good, this is really good, this is but they're on that kind of treadmill of factions.
Yes.
Callum says, evening gents, evening Callum, I do feel like 10th is better and fair edition of the game compared to 9th. If all factions were perfectly balanced, I think the game would be a little stale. Good comment. Peter, good to see you, my friend. The good in 40k has always been crazy good and the bad has been bad. BA versus DW is brutal. And Howlin says, core game, good place, but there are imbalanced interactions. Some books are better than others, but it's diverse and fun to play. Beer hammer over comp. And TTB says, I'm just going to go straight into this, but let's see where it goes. Paul's reason for why the game is more balanced. When you have an over-tuned army, the game is better. Yeah. That is kind of what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying. Which is true. Like you take the strongest stuff and you're playing around the rules and avoiding those like, I'm just going to go for it, then I think you do well.
Yeah.
That's why demons have been so good in that last, when Harvey played me with that demons game. Amazing. He didn't need to play the game, he just played secondaries.
Yeah, he just scores more than you.
Gonna score one. Oh, right. Not going to sing Vindaloo. Boys, thanks so much for joining us live. We are going to go over to a member stream. The link's already up, so all of you lovely members, you can just see it on the live bit and click it, and we'll see you there very shortly for some After Dark chat. We're going to learn about Luke's injury. We're going to talk about the team. We're launching a team, and I'm going to talk about the details and answer any questions on the member show. If you want to be in the Epic Flail team, you want to come to events with us, you want to be part of our team community on the Discord, then there's only one requirement. Well, there's two requirements actually. One is that you're a member of the channel, which is only £2.99 a month. It's the price of a coffee, and we create a lot of content, so it's good value. There's also, how many members' videos must have been out? Because you're adding all the...
Today's 3.
No, there is a lot more than 3. I think we're into the 40s. We might even be into... There might even be more like 50 member videos now.
I'm close. I've uploaded it close to 10 in the last...
Yeah, so we're on like, I think we're on about 45, 50 videos. So there's like
big chunk.
45, 50 members only videos of like wild After Darks that we've done, extra stream content that we've done, and loads of extra strategy videos that we've ported over. So consider being a member and getting our discard. And then if you want to join the team, just watch the video that's about to go live and we're going to chat about it. Callum says going to listen to member stream and like, wave home. Good, lad, appreciate you. Have you seen the price of coffee? Membership is a bargain. It is a bargain. It is cheaper than coffee. Folks, thanks for joining us. Please give it a like if you've enjoyed, and if you don't subscribe already, please subscribe, and see you on the After Dark. For those of you that don't join us on the After Dark, then I'm at Leeds Saturday and Sunday, streaming all weekend, all the rounds, so come tune in and watch us for that. All right, nice one. See you next time.